Welcome to the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. Are you over 40 and tired of struggling with your weight, dieting, and constantly feeling like you're starting over with nutrition and fitness? Do you wish you had more energy? Do you want to lose weight and finally keep it off for good? I'm Lil, a certified nutrition coach and former registered nurse. I too have been there, and at the age of 44, I decided I was done with fad diets and chasing a lower number on the scale. I was so tired of constantly starting over and wondering why I couldn't get lasting results. I became a nutrition coach and created the Feel Your Best formula for women who want to build muscle, lose fat, and keep it off for good. If you're ready to build a better relationship with food, the scale, and your body, let's build your formula for feeling your best. If you're new here, make sure to check the episode details for the link to my newbie starter guide. You'll receive an email straight to your inbox with everything you need to start building your Feel Your Best formula. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's dive into today's episode. Hello, good morning. This is Lil, and welcome to what is the final episode of the Feel Your Best formula in 2023. No worries, I'll be right back here in January with regular episodes for 2024, but I have decided to take the remainder of December off. And also, starting in January, I'll be releasing episodes on Tuesdays and Fridays instead of Mondays and Fridays. One thing I will be doing on a personal level over these next few weeks, in addition to the holidays and coaching my clients, is reflecting and planning for 2024. I feel like so much has happened very quickly in 2023, especially these last few months, as far as my business and my own personal shifts and growth and all those things. And I felt a little overwhelmed recently. So, what I'm going to do is sit down and start planning what the next 3 months look like and really thinking about what I want my life to look like in 2024, what I want to accomplish, and just start planning that out. What are the next steps? It shocks me when I sit back here and I reflect how much has changed personally and professionally for myself just in the past year. I feel so much stronger and in tune with my body and confident in the direction that I'm going. Literally 1 year ago today, I was sitting with a broken ankle in a boot, feeling horrible, not being able to work out, relying on my husband and my kids to help me with so many things. I'm a nurse. This is a problem with us nurses. We make terrible patients, and it was just a lot. We had just gone through the loss of my father-in-law, which was difficult on many levels. And during that time, the 2 years previously, I had started walking away from my previous business, and I just no longer felt in alignment with the direction that company was going. And my own goals were moving in a completely different direction. And I knew I wanted to build something of my own, and I wasn't sure exactly what that looked like. So I was just really reflecting on all of that and thinking how here I am today, 1 year later, and I almost feel like a completely different person in so many ways. So I just want to remind you that your life can look completely different 1 year from now. All those things that you're confused about, all those things that you're struggling with, you can start taking steps to figure things out and decide what you want your life to look like. And the most important thing is we have to accept the fact that it means we have to do things differently. So maybe you can take some time, maybe between Christmas and New Year's, whenever you have some downtime and start thinking and planning for yourself. What do you want out of 2024? And I really hope it isn't just, I want to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to jump on the next fad diet. I would assume that that is not your plan if you're someone who consistently listens to this podcast. But just thinking of who do you want to become? I certainly would not have thought a year from now, a year previously, that I would become someone that had a new podcast episode coming out every week, that I would become someone who now is lifting heavier weights than I ever have in my entire life. And there's just so many things that I can't even believe that that is who I am today. And even though maybe I didn't have a clear picture of that a year ago, every step that I took was leading me to where I am today. And I still feel like I have so far to go. And always remember, you're never too old and it's never too late. The new version of yourself can start today. It doesn't mean that where you are right now is bad or wrong, but I do think there is a satisfaction and a pride and a sense of fulfillment that does come with acknowledging the areas that we want to improve or get better at or learn more about. One of the things that I'm continually doing is trying to work on speaking Spanish better. It's just something that I'm continually working on. And every time I'm out in public or watching a show and I can understand more, what people are saying and the message they're conveying and everything, I appreciate the fact that that is an area of personal growth that I've been working on. So there's so many ways you can approach this. It's not all about health and wellness, but it's a great time right now to just start thinking about those things and not just making it about weight loss, and really just thinking overall, what do you want when you wake up in the morning? What do you want your day to look like? Because ultimately, that is our life day to day. We wake up in our bed, in our home, surrounded by the people or the pets or the belongings that we have. And that is who we are, and that's what we experience. If you want to experience something different, then it might be a great time to think about what you want to look differently when you open your eyes every morning and get out of bed. So as I was thinking all about these types of thoughts, I kind of thought to myself, what would I do differently? What would I do if I was that person who was deciding, okay, I have not been taking care of myself. I have let myself go. I have been prioritizing everyone else except for myself. I've been taking care of my partner. I've been taking care of my kids. I've been taking care of my parents. I've been taking care of my coworkers. It's time for me. It is time for me to actually treat myself as well as I treat everyone else around me. Time to prioritize myself. What would I do if today was that day where I was making that plan for myself? And what would I do, especially if I had the benefit of all the knowledge that I actually have? What would that plan look like? What would I do for nutrition? What would I do for fitness? What habits would I work to build? And what would I spend my money on? Because I think that that is a huge question for a lot of us. We don't want to waste our money. We want to make sure that we're investing our time and energy and effort into things that are going to get us the end result that we want. So I decided to put my thoughts down and share it here with you in the hopes it can help you get started in the right direction and not have so many messy mistakes along the way that I did. And first, I think we need to talk about cookie cutter plans, because I talk about that a lot in here because I'm very against cookie cutter plans. And I want to make sure that I give you some clarity on what I mean when I talk about a cookie cutter plan. What I'm talking about is a diet and fitness plan that is handed to you that does not take into account any of your personal needs. For example, myself, my fitness plan has to take into account the fact that I do have arthritis in my back and I cannot be jumping around doing HIIT workouts and Tabata and all of those things. And that has to be part of when I make my weekly plan. I have to make sure that the activities I'm doing are respectful of the boundaries that I need to have with my health and wellness. I need to make sure that it works for my schedule. And if someone handed me a plan that was like, you need to work out 6 days a week, I would laugh. I would be like, I'm not going to do that. Maybe I could do it for a week or 2 or 3 weeks. I could really, jam it in there and force it, but it would be unenjoyable. It would be stressful. And ultimately, I wouldn't be able to keep it up. And often we're sold cookie cutter plans when it comes to fitness and nutrition. And we are told that we have to follow this plan exactly the way it's written. And if we don't, we're just not going to get those results that you want. So when it comes to an individualized plan for my clients, in a certain way, you could say, I do provide a cookie cutter approach because I want all of you to work on the same things. I want you to focus on the things that matter. But I think the best analogy is to think about when you're baking a cake, right? We know that a cake is going to need flour. You're going to need some sort of liquid like milk. You're going to need eggs to bind it together. You're going to need fats and sugar, make it taste good and have it be a certain texture. Every single cake is going to have an ingredient that is going to help it have the outcome of being a cake. Because if you don't put those ingredients in, it's not going to be a cake when you're done baking it. But you can play around with the details, the flavors, the frostings, the decorations, and we can all bake a cake using a slightly different recipe. And I look at my Feel Your Best formula as a recipe. And it's not like a cookie cutter plan where I'm telling you, you have to do this workout, you have to eat this way, you have to do all these things that I'm telling you to do. Instead, I'm telling you, if you want the outcome of being stronger and leaner, these are the things you need to look at. I know you want to have more energy. I know you want to sleep better. I know you want to feel better. My clients, yes, you come to me because you say you want to lose weight, but what you really want is you want to feel better. You come to me because you feel like crap and you're tired of trying to figure it out on your own. And you are looking for that recipe for yourself so that you can get that outcome that you want. And by using my Feel Your Best formula, that's exactly what we do. And when we bake your cake, we use the ingredients that you choose so that you can get the outcome that works for you, that you're going to be able to consistently know time and time again, I'm going to feel better if these are the habits that I choose. And that's why some of my clients strength train 2 days a week. I don't get it twisted. I am never going to say you shouldn't train for marathons or you shouldn't do cardio. If you love cardio, one of my newest clients loves cardio, but she understands she needs to make room for strength training because of the outcome that she wants. She's at an age where her body is naturally losing muscle. And if you're not doing things to actively maintain and build it, then you are going to get softer. You are not going to look as toned as you like because that is just a natural part of the aging process. So she's committed to doing her strength training 2 days a week along with those cardio workouts that she loves. So it's all about that balance in your personal goals and not me just handing you a plan and saying this is what you need to do. So you can look at my Feel Your Best formula as your personalized ingredients for baking the cake that you love. And you have to have those foundational pieces of the recipe in order to get the outcome. So it's not about just a blanket statement of this is what will work for everybody. It's understanding there are certain ingredients that everyone needs to include in their overall plan, but the details and how you take action on them can absolutely be unique to each individual. Does that make sense? So, when you're building your Feel Your Best formula, you're looking to nourish your body with the right calories and macros, but you're also looking to do that with the foods that you enjoy. You're looking at strength training, and like I said, however many days a week that work best for you based on your day-to-day life. You're looking at being active, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, limiting alcohol, trying to keep stress to a minimum, making time for things and people you enjoy so that that's what's life about. And spending time and doing things you enjoy is an important part of the process. You can't just obsess over food and fitness and then think you're going to live a happy life without also having hobbies and friends and things to do that you enjoy. So ultimately, the whole point of the Feel Your Best formula is to get yourself where these are just foundational habits and you no longer have to track, you no longer have to be super mindful or intentional because everything just becomes easy for you. But it takes time. It's not something that happens overnight and you have to work through the process. As I said, no two clients of mine are following the exact same plan. They have different nutritional goals, different foods that they enjoy, different restaurants and food choices that they enjoy. They have different workout plans, they have different workout schedules, they have different ways of approaching, the stress in their lives, and it's not cookie cutter. A cookie cutter plan has everyone eating the same foods, doing the same workouts, and expecting the same results. So, in my belief, it's the individuality and the individual choices that make taking action easier for you. Where if you have that individualized plan that we've collaborated on, it makes taking action easier for you. Whereas if you're trying to follow a plan that someone made who doesn't understand your life, it can be harder to follow through on it and take action on it because quite simply your needs were not taken into account when it came to starting that plan. So coming from this perspective, let's look at what I would do if I knew everything I know today, but I could go back and start over and skip over so many of the messy mistakes I've made along the way. So first of all, I would absolutely use a macros nutrition approach to guide my food choices. And I would make sure to calculate my macros or hire a coach to do it for me if I wasn't sure where to begin. I'm personally someone, I know myself. I know I work best with numbers and a plan and some structure. I don't do well with ambiguity. So having structure in both my food and fitness is really important to me. Knowing what I know now, I would know that macros are really the best way of understanding exactly what you're eating, how the food you're eating is nourishing your body, and how you're getting the benefit from that, and how it's making you either gain or lose weight and muscle. And I would really pay attention to my hunger cues and make note of what foods and meals really worked for me so I could repeat them. Here's the thing, people are like, oh, being healthy is boring. I guarantee you are probably repeating a lot of the same meals and food choices in your life right now without even thinking about, being intentional. We're creatures of habit. So it's just about changing what that habit is and repeating the food choices and learning how to actually nourish your body. So there's so many excuses that come up for people, but that's a big one. It always makes me laugh because I'm like, how many people out there actually order something different every time they go through the drive-through or choose wildly different foods every time they go to the grocery store? You already have habits and routines. It's just about intentionally and mindfully making some swaps and different choices so that you can have a different outcome. I would understand that the more I tell myself certain foods are off limits, that would make me crave them more. And I would also know that I should trust myself that if I was nourishing my body properly, eating enough calories, balancing my meals as far as the macronutrients and micronutrients, that I'm going to feel good and I'm not going to be tempted to binge or overeat. I'm also not going to fear having treats in the house because I would know what I need to do and what I need to eat to nourish my body and prioritize that so that I don't fall into those habits that don't make me proud of myself and don't make me feel good and ultimately lead to weight gain and the direction that I don't want to go. I would know that I needed to give myself time to learn how to do all this, nourish my body, track my food, and create these habits without the added pressure and discomfort of trying to lose weight. When it comes to fitness, I thought about this and I thought, hands down, I would just start with Carolyn Gervin workouts. And looking at my schedule, I'd probably do similar to what I do now, which is 4 strength training workouts a week. Maybe if I was just beginning, I would do 3. Just because I know myself and I might be a little nervous to go, start off with doing 4. But one thing I would spend my money on for sure are adjustable weights, like the Bowflex adjustable weights, because I would know that I need to anticipate getting stronger. And that's really just the best bang for your buck when it comes to strength training at home. And I would also invest in some yoga blocks and a foam mat. First, I know a lot of people tell you to get a yoga mat. I love my foam mat. I have a very bony spine and back, and I just like the added cushion and the comfort. So maybe a yoga mat works for some people, but for sure I would get the foam mat. And I would also invest in some strength loops, the loops that you put around your legs, because those can be really handy, not just for workouts, but for modifying certain moves and things like that. I would also make sure to figure out how to get at least 7,500 steps in per day. Now, I have been working out, considering myself someone that knows a lot about health and wellness for over a decade, and I never really thought to track my steps until, the past couple of years. And I just assumed I was active enough. And then when I started tracking my steps and seeing that I really wasn't as active as I thought I was, it was very eye-opening. So making sure that I get outside for walks and intentionally experiment with ways to get in more activity. I would for sure buy a walking pad or treadmill because I live in New England and it can be hard to get outside, especially when it's cold and icy. I would absolutely invest in a high quality water bottle like a Yeti or a Hydro Flask. I love my water cold, and an insulated water bottle is a must for me. I would also make sure I was drinking enough water and prioritizing water, but also not obsess over it. I would enjoy a Diet Coke here and there, and also a ginger ale or iced coffee. And just know it's totally okay to fit those things in, especially if you're counting macros, then you just understand how to enjoy those foods along with your overall eating. And also understanding here that the more we say things are off limits, the more likely we are to develop unhealthy habits and binge on them when we fear we can't have them. Personally, alcohol is not a big deal for me. I rarely drink, but I would probably commit to not having any alcohol as a beginner because it wouldn't be worth the calories. And during this time of getting started, it can really throw a wrench in motivation, especially since I would probably do at least 2 of my workouts on the weekends. And during this learning phase and experimentation phase, I want to make sure I'm feeling the benefits of my efforts, and alcohol can just kind of erase or negate that increased energy and decreased bloat and all of the positive things that I'm feeling from my new habits. Alcohol can just kind of like throw that in the trash. So I don't want to kind of mess things up. I want to make sure I'm really understanding how I'm feeling based on my new habits. Another big thing, this is huge, that I would do is curate my social media. This means I would hide, mute, or unfollow any accounts that piss me off, annoy me, or have messages that I just don't want to hear. This includes people I know in real life who are energy vampires, complainers, one-uppers, like people that just aggravate you. Just mute them. You don't have to unfriend people. There's like, if you click the little dots at the right corner of your Facebook, it will give you options to like hide people for 30 days. Learn how to use those features, because then you can save yourself the drama of someone accusing you of unfriending them or whatever. I would unfollow fitness or supposed wellness accounts that preach thinness or fearing foods, or they push complicated diets or complicated wellness plans and things like that. I would seek out accounts that are in alignment with my goals and the type of people that I want to surround myself with. And let's just be honest, that's probably a very short list of people. I personally do not follow a lot of people on my Instagram, and I don't have any qualms about unfollowing someone. If they are in the wellness space, I am very, very picky about the people that I give my time and attention to. Along these lines, if you like to read, one book I would absolutely read, and I am probably going to read this again for what will be the fifth or sixth time, is a book called The Four Agreements. And anytime we're starting on a new path, I think this book is an incredible read, reminding you of your place and purpose in the universe and how to stay true to yourself. It's short but powerful, and if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I've mentioned it here before. And I'll make sure to link everything I'm talking about here in the show notes on my website, and the link to the show notes will be in the episode details here. I would also start experimenting with different habits and routines, because remember, this is all the learning phase, experimenting phase. And I want to create habits and routines that make it easy to stick to my goals, that make it easy to get my workouts in, that make it easy to make food choices that are in alignment with my goals. So I would probably try some different meal planning routines and methods, a morning routine, an evening routine. I would set aside some time on Fridays or the weekend to reflect on the past week and plan for the week ahead. I wouldn't be afraid to try new things and new ideas, and also let go of the things that are not working for me. This is done with the understanding that everything is connected. And maybe something as simple as changing my laundry routine might help me stick to my workout schedule. I'm going to keep things very simple. There will be no fads here. There will be no cold plunges. I don't even journal or do a gratitude journal or anything like that anymore, and I have no intention of starting that. I'm more focused in the mornings on getting things done and starting the day off right so I can be productive. And I honestly, I don't need to remind myself every morning how privileged I am to wake up in a house that is cozy and warm and next to my husband. Ever since he almost died in front of me, I just no longer need to think of what I have to be grateful for. So that would be a big waste of my time. If it helps you, it helps you. But that's not something that I'm going to waste my time with. I'm grateful every day when I wake up, and I don't need to really think about it too much. I use my mornings to make sure I have my head on straight, that I'm focused for the day, and I use my nights for relaxing. Think of it like this: your habits and routines are you gifting your future self. So when I wake up in the morning with my workout clothes laid out, my meals already pre-tracked in my Lose It app, my workout schedule, my whether or not I'm going to go for a walk, like my day pretty much planned out. And when I don't even have to think about it, that is the biggest gift you can give yourself, is to not have to think too much or make decisions. Decision fatigue is real, and personally, I think it's a huge obstacle for many of you, and it's why you don't follow through on things you say you want to do because you spend too much time thinking about it and trying to decide if you should or should not do it. I would also make sure my family and friends knew how important my goals are to me and ask that they support me, but understand that ultimately I'm responsible for my own self-care, and there will be those who question what I'm doing. I would commit to only taking advice from people who are qualified to give me advice. And so if you've got an Aunt Sally who's been overweight her entire life and she's giving you crap about lifting weights and eating more protein, you just tell her to mind her own business. Finally, I would understand that there is no end date, that these habits I build during this time are the foundation for habits I will have for the rest of my life, because that recipe and that formula, those foundational things are always going to stay the same. Those basic ingredients, they're never going to change. But if I'm forced to take a break from strength training, say for surgery or illness, then I can still focus on those other areas. And as life changes, if you move, if something happens and your current habits don't work for you, you can know you have the flexibility to change your schedule and the way that you follow through on things, but you have that foundation to work from. If I was starting on my journey today, these are the things I would do, but I would also know that the most important part of success is just simply deciding who I'm going to be. Okay, that's it for today's final episode of 2023. I'll be back here the first Tuesday in January to help you kick off the new year. Thank you so much for every single one of you who has shown up and supported this podcast in 2023. I promise you there's more to come in 2024. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to check the episode details for my new listener starter guide, and any additional resources mentioned in the episode can also be found in the show notes on my website. You can always find me on Instagram at Macros with Lil, and for more healthy lifestyle tips, recipes, and information on my one-to-one and group coaching services, make sure to check out my website. All the links can be found below. If you know someone else who is ready to start building their formula for feeling their best, please share the love and send them a link to the podcast. I hope you found today's episode helpful, and I'll see you back here next week for a brand new one.